don't begin to start in these kind of situations appear again, that we start building buildings outside our industrial areas. This city right now has many, many locations in our industrial areas sitting empty. Not saying that this will happen to them. However, you are going to be in a situation as a planner. You represent the residents of this community, the residents of these people right here that live there, and many of them have lived there for many years. If we start changing things now, are we going to make things change in the future to allow these kind of buildings to continue to start being built all over the city again? After many years of finally getting industrial parks, we're going to start allowing more buildings. The next thing you know, they might be in your neighborhood. You may not sit up here. Some of you might not be sitting up here in the future. And all of a sudden, they want to build in your neighborhood. Bet you won't like it, and you'll be sitting right out there with other people not wanting this project. I have seen, I have a question for Mr. Keys. The blue clay that was put on there about a year and a half ago, who paid for it?
It was free.
That's right, it was free. And what tried to go in on that project?
I'm sorry?
What did they try to put there before? What tried to move in there and got caught? Martin Cohen?
Oh,
back
time.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Before my time, I'm not sure.
That's right, it was before your time. They tried to sneak that in too, and it backfired. But all of a sudden, this project, it appears to me that this project, I don't know how many on council knew about this. How many on council probably, I don't know nothing about this project. All of a sudden, it just pops up. And all of a sudden, it's sitting in our laps. All I'm asking is the planning commission to understand something. These have been our taxpayers for many years. It is important that we think about their futures, your futures, and anybody else. If we start now, we're going to have problems. And you're right, it will have to come to council. And if it does, under these conditions, I will never vote for it.
Thank you.
I just want to address the point he made about what keeps the industrial from moving in. We have to go by our future land use map. That looks out 20 years into the future. The residents have input on that. And every time a master plan is done out, we do have future plans for the city in certain areas.
But we don't have to do it. Correct?
We don't have to do what, sir?
Do you have to approve it? You have to approve this
You're
project.
talking about this rezoning?
Yes.
We make the planning commission makes a recommendation to council.
Oh, just like the marijuana thing recommendation, huh?
We
You
don't
wanna
have
go
the
there?
authority.
Don't even go there right now.
We don't have the authority to approve a rezoning.
That's a lot of you guys
Only
there.
the planning commission has the right to rezone property.
Come to the door.
I mean, only the city council.
Come to this door. Oh, where's the cops?
What is your name, sir?
Don Pearson, 6541 Holland Road. How many people live on Beverly and have the lights that they were said were supposed to be 10 feet tall and they're shining in your windows? You guys need to look.
The noise.
The noise.
Car horns.
They lied before, they'll lie again. It's a big corporation. I just left a big corporation. They lie. It's what they do. They've already lied. You know, we don't want it. And that's all I'm going to say. I mean, I was always told it was toxic. And from a Freedom of Information Act, it says there's lead in the earth. So that, and there's signs on the fence that say environmental risk. Why are we going to try to even think about putting lead in the air, possibly the water? You want a flint?
Sir, I have to say that there's about, 45 people, 50 people here, with all feeling the same way. I live in Taylor myself, and I have a problem too. In where well, yes, then it has to go to city council,
I understand.
which is an opportunity to be heard and seen. This is only
The
very,
first
very
step.
basic.
I'm just asking you guys to do what's right, because that parking lot in the very north, there's gonna be light pollution going through, no matter what they say about vegetation. There's vegetation there now, and how many people just raise their hands because they have lights going into their windows?
I understand.
It's light pollution. I mean, there's a better way to configure a parking lot where you don't have to have it directly north.
See, that would come under the site plan.
No, I'm just,
I understand, thank you,
you have a great night.
thank you. Sir, name and address, please.
Let them do it there.
Jeff Cohen, 26712 Beverly Road. 2 doors away from where Bob grew up. I've known him all my life.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
I have an issue because I've reached out to the city multiple times to see what the last EPA reports were on the site and have gotten one call returned and left messages every day for the last week. I don't know why it's impossible to get any type of report to know what the current status is. As most of us have heard for years, it's a toxic site. Every time we come to a planning committee meeting, all we ever hear is that it's a landfill. There's a difference between a toxic site and a landfill. And I understand that Ashley Capital might be great on building on top of a landfill, but we're talking about a toxic site. We grew up seeing 25-gallon barrels of paint and solvents out in that field. We know it's toxic. When the gentleman that did the recap and was in charge of that project for 10 years, which I don't understand why he's not here, he said that they put 14 inches of clay on top of that site. Whether or not it's less or more, he made the statement here that they were not to pierce that clay cap because it is a toxic site. At no point have I seen any information that says otherwise than this is a toxic site. Not a landfill, a toxic site. If the city could provide some reporting before the planning committee makes a decision to be able to see in black and white that yes, it's been considered a landfill and not a toxic site, we might have a different view on this. But right now, I'm not interested in you guys drilling into a toxic site and releasing whatever's been capped in there, building up over time. I don't understand why it's impossible to get any type of information from the city or visibility on this. When it comes to the area, has Ashley Capital ever done impact reports on the neighborhoods after they've developed in them to see how it's affected the neighborhood once you guys have gone in and created your warehouse or whatever you want to do? Why can't it be a business park instead of an industrial park? I mean, I've lived in other parts of the country where you have lots of business parks that's lower traffic, that's actually creating jobs in this city. Are we really looking to keep Taylor at the level it is, or are we trying to uplift the people in Taylor by offering better positions at better wages?
They don't want to uplift.
Factory work, warehouse work is minimum wage job.
Sir,
How are we lifting up our people in the city by having it develop for the same issue? I live right across the street from where the berm index, and we can see the lights. My parents have been there for 54 years since the houses were built. So we're kind of,
and so, for the record, you're against.
I'm against it, my parents are against
Yes,
it.
sir.
My parents plan on dying in the houses.
How can it come, make time to say it?